Welcome back to my channel called Know Your Bible, and every week I do a Bible study, and this week we are in Genesis chapter 25. So last week was a bit of a love story in chapter 24, and it was about how God chose Rebekah for Isaac. And so, as we know, Abraham's wife Sarah died at 127 years old, and Abraham now is 137 years old, and he remarries. So Abraham's new wife is called Keturah, and in their marriage now she bears 6 more children, and as far as I can see, they're all males. Their names are Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. In verse 5 it says that Abraham gave all he had to Isaac. But Abraham gave gifts to sons of concubines which Abraham had, and while he was still living he sent them eastward, away from Isaac his son, to the country of the east. So I was looking up a Jewish scholar called Gaudreau, and he says that the word concubine is a totally wrong word for this situation. Back then it was called bulukshin. Bulukshin was a totally different meaning than concubine. Now back then, if you were a righteous and noble man and had wealth, as Abraham did, they would take in young orphan women or abandoned women and take them into the family, practically adopted them, and married them off to men, and took the responsibility of their children, and that is why Abraham gave them gifts. So Abraham lived a good old age of 175. Verse 9 to 11. And his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt in Beer-lahai-roi. So the next few verses talks about the genealogy of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. So Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, and it turned out that Rebekah was also barren, just like his mother was barren and couldn't conceive children. So he pleaded to the Lord, and the Lord did answer, and she conceived. Verse 21 to 26. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea. And Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, If all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called him Esau. Afterward his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Now some scholars say that Cain and Abel were also twins, but there's no proof of that. But here we have twins, and on this chart here we are in the genealogy to Christ. We are about way up here. So Esau, he was a really good hunter, and he loved the wild, and he was very skilled at what he was doing. And his father adored him when he brought meat home, and he loved to eat whatever meat he brought. And also his son Jacob, he loved to cook, and he learned a lot of cooking from his mother, and he was an excellent cook also. So now I'm going to read the rest of the chapter, and that would be verse 27 to 34. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field. But Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in the tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau, he came in from the field, and he was very weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright as of today." And Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die, so what is this birthright to me?" Then Jacob said, "Swear to me of this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So God knew Jacob and Esau before they were born, and already he knew that Jacob would be the chosen one to take the birthright instead of Esau. So back then, the firstborn was always to take the birthright and be the lineage of the family. But here, it turned out differently. And in a lot of other families, and we know that things do not turn out as we expected. So here we see that Esau did not at all respect his birthright or want his birthright, and so he gave it to his younger brother. And his younger brother did long for the birthright and appreciated the birthright. So we're going to see next week, so please join me, how this all ends up in Genesis chapter 26. So blessings to you all. Till next week.